Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I got a phone call from Todd, and anytime he invites me anywhere, I know to say yes, and I'm glad that I did, because this has been a really interesting a couple of days for me, and I'm excited to chat with you guys.
Well, let's start with what's going on in the media industry from your point of view. You've done it for decades. You've recreated yourself multiple times, and the world's changed a lot.
A lot. The world's changed more in the last two to 3 years than in the previous 3 decades, from my perspective of being boots on the ground in the entertainment industry. And a lot of, some of it's COVID, some of it's tech, some of it were the 2 strikes that we went through, and they've all sort of accelerated the inevitable, which is the economic model is unsustainable, and that everybody has to figure out a new way to do business, which I'm excited about, because I always figure when there's disruption and fear, and by the way, I've never seen people more fearful and unhappy in my business ever. And I don't mean that to be a downer. I said that last night and people thought I was being Debbie Downer. I'm not. I think that's the time where there's opportunity, because people are forced to change. I don't know about you guys, but for me in my life, when I'm supposed to make a change and I don't really want to do it because things are kind of working okay, I got to be in enough pain, and then I'm ready to make the change. And that's where Hollywood is right now.
So to find that pain, talk about what the pain is.
So I'll just put it in terms of my own life. So I've had a show on a network television schedule every year since 1999. I haven't missed a year, whether it's West Wing or Parks and Recreation or the one I'm on now. And they have stopped making the West Wing, 911 Lone Star, Madam Secretary, CSI, all of those sort of big dramas of scale. They simply can't afford to produce them because the licensing fees to show them aren't there anymore. And streaming had a lot to do with that. I do a lot of work with the network Fox. The show I'm on now, 911 Lone Star, costs about $7.5 million an episode, and which is about the industry norm for a big spectacle network TV show. The first thing they did was cut the orders from 22 to 16 to 12 to now, moving forward, their mandate is they are only going to make shows with a total budget of $4 million. So we can all do the math and see how that affects the economics of everybody working for that. So
who's winning right now in Hollywood?
Netflix.
Anyone else?
Not yet. Netflix is too far ahead. And luckily they're my partners in a lot of things, and I incidentally love working for them. And we all know that consolidation is coming with the other streamers, and maybe bundling, they say, creating the new bundling, which would be great. Everybody could make some money again. And that's kind of the positive, is eventually guys and gals way smarter than me will figure out the economics to make sense. But the important thing is what the creatives do. If you're a creative or if you love movies and television as a fan, it's never going away. We've been telling stories since we sat by the campfire. We're going to be telling stories when we're orbiting the Earth. It's never going away. It's just figuring out where we're telling them.
One of the things that a lot of people don't know about you is you're also a really good investor, and you've been investing for a long time. If you took your investor hat on, put your investor hat on, and thought about the landscape that we're in today, what would you be thinking about? How would you start something from scratch, given costs have gone down for distribution, but there's Apple, there's Amazon. How many distribution sources are there today?
So many. I'm getting most of my nighttime entertainment on TikTok. I spend more time on TikTok than I do on Netflix. And there are one of the things I'm interested in, there are these content creators on TikTok, that I am reaching out to see if they can extrapolate what they're doing into longer forms. That's one thing. I would be looking at building.
And are you trying to back them? Are you trying to back them and grow them?
Yeah, exactly. Coming in and get them deals with larger places and make expanding the content beyond 30 seconds, 40 seconds. There's a huge need for infrastructure for where the industry is going and not where it's been. And like, for example, these amazing volume stages that we have now, which are just, it's like this LED wall circling us and that's it. That's it. And you shoot the entire series of Mandalorian in that. Like in a press of a button, you can be they can make it Paris, or they can make it underwater, or but there are only 2 or 3 of them in the world.
Is that a cost issue? Why are there only 2 or 3?
It's a cost and a tech issue. There's a lot of proprietary tech, and there's only 2 or 3 companies that really have it down. But they want to build them. And I think you need to sort of reverse engineer your storytelling to the economics. And I mean, a lot of people are trying to crack that code.
Yeah. So the soundstage thing you're talking about, a lot of CapEx up front, but a lot less cost ongoing. Is that the idea?
Yeah, and you know, people always in my business are always looking to lower the budgets, obviously, and they chase the tax incentives around the world. And Atlanta is huge. I have friends who work for Marvel, and I say bye-bye, and they're going to live in Atlanta for 2 years. And the problem with things like that is the political winds could change in an instant. And all of a sudden the voters of Atlanta aren't so happy giving Hollywood a big tax rebate, and you've invested all your infrastructure there. So you want to find places where you know that your money is going to good, but there's not a shortage at all of people who would use. I'm going to Ireland to do seasons 2 and 3 of a game show that I'm doing. It's cheaper to go to Ireland to do an American game show with 100 American contestants than to do it. Literally, the people who make it are Fox. We sit in an office looking out of a window of 13 sound stages. They're right there. So we're going to go to Ireland and we're going to go shoot it. And I'm like, what the? It's unbelievable.
Why?
It's literally money. It's just money.
What makes that?
So Ireland, the 30% tax rebate is about the industry standard. Some are less, some are more. And then there's the unions. And so between those numbers, that's enough to really move the needle.
Well, as you know, Saudi Arabia has a desire to really be building their film and TV industry. How do you think, what would the advice that you would give them?
Well, I've been lucky enough to travel a bit in the region, and the thing that I was struck with was whenever I would run into just regular young people, how passionate they were about entertainment. And my view is there's no reason that Saudi shouldn't be the leader in IP in the same way they're attempting to be the leader in sports and everything else. And I know that there's infrastructure being built and things being done. The only thing that I look at and see is the Live Golf model is super great, but they didn't build the golf courses and get all the infrastructure and put them on the schedule and then try to find the golfers. So I think that's the component that maybe I'd like to see in bringing entertainment to that area. With Live, they went to Greg Norman, and they said, because they know you need to have somebody who can communicate why Saudi, why now, and answer the many questions that people are going to have about why that's a new thing.
Well, and the opportunity right now to take advantage of the dysfunction, the fear, the dislocation.
Hollywood has always been built on, it's like a mafia, right? So it's like you've got your cabal. You got your agents you pay 10% to. You got your managers you pay 10% to. You got your publicists you pay $10,000 a month to. You've got your lawyer you pay 5%. I'm not kidding, these are the numbers, it's insane. And for years, actors have been, I'm giving too much away. This is crazy. But no one would ever stand up to the system because the people who run it would crush it. Well, now, everybody is so dislocated. They're so shaken. They're so trying to find the new way that this is the time for all of the things that everyone has been thinking about, how to fix our business. This is a really good time. It's a really good time because it's a really, I don't want to say bad time, but it's a really good time because it's a very uncertain time.
Well, when you think about that, I mean, the way you described it to me a while ago was you pay out a third, you pay the government another third, and you're left with a third.
Yeah.
And the other problem with that first third, they're not coordinated. They're all bespoke.
Well, here's another thing is I think Gwyneth Paltrow spoke here, or is speaking. She's an old good friend, and I like to use her as a case study, and she hates it, but I'm doing it anyway. There was a time when Gwyneth won the Academy Award, and then you go, and once you win the Academy Award, you get 2, 3, 4 really good movies afterwards. You know it's going to happen. Today, you win an Academy Award, maybe you're the face of Gucci. And you better like it, because they don't pay you. It's just cool to be the face of Gucci. So branding and the commercial element is more of an economic driver than movies for most people. I remember a time, this is so nuts, I wish I could go back in time. Early 80s, I'm doing all kinds of movies, and I get offered a Maxwell House commercial. They're gonna pay me $1 million for one day. This is 1985, it's a lot of money. And I can write it, I can direct it, I can do all the creative, and I finally said no because I was worried what Martin Scorsese would think if he saw it. Now, you work for Martin Scorsese and you go and do the Maxwell House commercial for $2 million, $3 or whatever it is. The world is gone insane.
Well, your DirecTV program,
I had some DirecTV, a campaign that ironically was among my most fulfilling. I played Rob Lowe, and then I played cable TV version of Rob Lowe. And they were so fun and so funny, and I got more lift. Forget the economics, which were great. But I got more sort of lift out of that than I did from movies and TV sometimes.
Well, you were one of the pioneers, right? You went from movies to TV. That was a big risk.
It was in a time when you were still siloed off. The movie business was still the movie business. And TV was, TV of the 90s, and I think West Wing, Sopranos, 24 kind of ushered in a new era in television.
Yeah. And the economics now in television are superior than they are in film.
Always have been, but even that, we used to do 22 episodes of The West Wing, so that's 22 paychecks. Now most shows do 16 if you're lucky. A lot do less. And if you're on Netflix, they're doing 8. So it's still, listen, don't cry for me, Argentina, on this, but it's by way of saying that all of the economics are.
So what do you see happening post-strike, and how do we avoid?
By the way, the strike was the worst thing that ever happened.
And how do we avoid another one?
I mean, the thing that I'm worried about is, it's amazing we went this far into the conversation without mentioning AI, by the way, I think. Isn't that shocking? So I don't think the right people are articulating what AI is, what it can be, what we're scared of, and all of those things. And with all due respect, the Screen Actors Guild AI representative who sat with Ted Sarandos and Bob Bakish and all of the leaders in that world was the actress Justine Bateman.
She knows a lot about AI.
I love Justine Bateman. I loved her on Family Ties. She's amazing. But I feel like we need the real leaders to come together and talk, because it's not going anywhere. I mean, we all saw what came out this week with the text-generated AI clips. They're insane. And when I saw those, I go, oh, well, if I'm in the promo department at Warner Brothers, my job's over. If I'm in the promo department at CBS Sports, it's over. It's done. And it's only going to get more extreme, but you can't fight the cotton gin. Yeah. When Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin, it just is what it is. We're at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, and we better figure out how to harness it, train for it, build for it, accept it, and when needed, put rules on it. Deep fakes comes to mind. I don't know about you guys, but anything I see on TikTok or even on the news, I'm not sure it's real anymore. I really am. I think, is that really Joe Biden tumbling down the steps of Air Force One? I don't know. It could be. But it also, you just don't know. So I was talking to the folks at Google who were talking about watermarking, which would be great, but it's technically very hard to do at this point. But that kind of stuff, if you aren't talking openly about it, actors and all creatives, rightly, are going to lose their minds and go, I don't want to lose my jobs.
Well, the reason I think we're so excited about the opportunity in front of us is all of these costs associated with creating content are coming down, right? I think if you look at what Rupert Murdoch did years ago, he had to pay a lot for the distribution network, and then he had to pay a lot for the content.
That's right.
The distribution network costs have come down to zero, right? So how do you figure out how to build a company that takes advantage of this opportunity when really all you need is capital and talent?
That's right.
So all the other things are starting to fall the way of the dodo.
And, that's what Hollywood was built on, the previous model. So it's painful as it all falls away. But you're exactly right. It's the opportunity for the people in this room and others to build exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So let's switch gears for a little bit. Who's your favorite baseball team?
Dodgers.
How have we done?
Can you believe what this man has done with the Dodgers? It's so sick. I mean, we're the new Yankees. We're going to be the most hated team
Which
in
is
MLB.
good.
We know that now, right? It's just the way it is. So I love sports. I love baseball. I love football. I love all of it. And that's how we first bonded, sitting next to each other and talking about the pitch clock.
Yeah. So, the Dodgers this year, I think it's just to put it in context real quick, we had 5 World Series games last year. It was the Rangers versus the Diamondbacks, not real top teams, and only 9 million people watched each game. 5 times, 45 million people total. When we announced Ohtani, we had 70 million people watch.
Did you hear those numbers?
I think
it sounds like I misheard them. That's insane.
Yeah, so there's demand globally, and we need to continue to go find it. So I think the Dodgers will be the most hated team, and I think we're probably going to win the World Series.
It's going to be great. I mean, and that's the thing that's so interesting is the thing that more people watched the Super Bowl, I think, this year than ever did. So, and I think you'll see TV network, the traditional networks, CBS, Fox, ABC, there's a time where it's going to be competition series, low-cost reality, and sports, and that's it.
Well, that's
where
we're
almost,
headed, right?
We're kind of almost there.
Yeah, because, James Corden was telling me that the Late Late Show, he decided to leave it, right? They took his budget from 70 million to 30 million. It's like, I can't do this for 30 million.
Yeah.
Right? So all that space needs to be replaced or something's going to happen to it. But again, I think that's the opportunity that you have.
That's why I got into podcasting. Yeah, I have a podcast called Literally, and I get to interview amazing people. Brian Grazer, who was just here, was one of my favorite guests. There's nobody like him. There he is. Yay! By the way, Brian he is one of the true geniuses in our business. Like a great thinker. His movies speak for themselves, and just one of the great guys. And I don't say that lightly because most people in Hollywood, I'm like, oh, whatever. But,
So let's talk a little bit about your history. Talk about the things that have made you really happy, what you've done, how you transitioned,
well,
Tommy Boy.
I survived being a teen idol. That was fun. You know, it's hard to make the transition from the cover of Bop magazine into I wonder what Bop means. Let me think about that. Anyway, and so that I've been through a bunch of, what's the word I'm looking for? Chapters, right? And teen idol, then, 20-something ingenue, and then, had periods where, the work wasn't. I think if you're lucky, you work long enough to not have work. Anybody can put together a string of movies and TV shows, but if you're around long enough, you're going to have periods where it's fallow. I got lucky enough that during the periods where I was transitioning, I was also getting married and raising kids and was able to make that a real priority. And I'm super thankful that I wasn't away on location, as my kids were growing up. I got to really be there and invest in them. And they've turned out to be wonderful young men. And my wife has more to do with it than I do, for sure. But that was, I like to say I used my 20s building my career, and I used my 30s building me and who I wanted to be and my family. Got sober 33 years ago in 1990, and I really enjoy talking to people about the value of that, if it's an issue for people. And it affects so many people, particularly young people. And I really enjoy telling people, it's going to be okay. You're going to be great. It's still going to be fun. Life is going to be great. Put it down. So that was a big part. And then moving to TV and transitioning to a business where I can use all of the relationships and experiences that I've had beyond just acting and producing.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.